My husband handed me a signed commitment paper for a state mental facility at our 10th anniversary gala and told the crowd I was too unstable to manage my father's $40 million trust anymore. I stood there in the center of the ballroom watching as my mother-in-law Victoria toasted to her son's bravery for finally dealing with a broken woman while his 20-year-old mistress draped herself over my husband Ethan's arm before our elite business partners. Ethan didn't even look me in the eye. He just whispered that since I'd spent the last year hallucinating his infidelity, it was time for me to get professional help. In another state, Victoria leaned in, her breath smelling of expensive champagne, and sneered that a trailer park social climber like me should be grateful I lasted a decade in luxury before being sent back to the gutter where I belonged. They had no idea that for 3 years, while Ethan was busy spending his corporate profits on penthouses and private jets for his mistress, I was the one secretly acting as the anonymous chief auditor for the very federal agency currently investigating his company for a $50 million racketeering scheme. Ethan thought he was the undisputed king of Sterling Group, but he had forgotten that my father's trust wasn't just a pile of cash, it was a web of debt I had been systematically repositioning to trap him the moment he stepped out of line. I didn't scream and I didn't cry. I simply reached into my silk clutch and pulled out my phone, hitting a single command that triggered an immediate global freeze on every corporate card and bank account tied to the Sterling name. The smug smile slid off Ethan's face when the gala's event manager approached 2 minutes later to tell him that his Centurion card had been declined for the $50,000 catering bill and that his executive security team had just been ordered to vacate the property. I stood up, smoothed my dress, and pulled a single red-stamped document from my clutch, the original ironclad deed to the very mansion we were standing in, which I had secretly repossessed through a private foreclosure trust. He'd been too arrogant to ever investigate. I looked at Victoria, whose face was a mask of pure terror, and told her that if she wanted to talk about unstable women, she should probably start with the shock of being homeless, because I had already authorized the sheriff to escort her and her son to the curb of my driveway. In exactly 10 minutes I leaned in and whispered the truth that crushed Ethan's ego. I wasn't the delusional wife he ignored. I was the majority shareholder who had just signed his federal indictment for grand larceny. I walked out of that gala as the police arrived, leaving them to figure out how to pay for a billionaire's lifestyle with a frozen bank account and a reputation being shredded in the morning papers. Some women keep love letters, but I kept the deeds, the audit trails, and the satisfaction of watching a predator become a beggar before the main course was even served. They thought they were burying a victim, but they were actually just handing me back the keys to an empire they never owned. And as I watched them being led away in handcuffs, I realized that the best revenge isn't just winning, it's watching them realize they never even had a chance to play the game.